Hi there, Ariel and David, Metal, Danielle, Leah, and Maya. So the first piece of the Midrash is really far out. It's so far out, it actually takes place on the fourth level of the heavens. And there, the sun and the moon are hiding. Why are they hiding? This is the parsha of the revolt of Korach. And they're hiding because they want God to get involved and save Moshe and Aaron from this revolt. So what does God do? God reminds them, there's a little bit of hypocrisy here because millions of people worship the sun and the moon. Now, you may not realize that this happened at one time in history. There is a big city in Israel called Beit Shemesh, right, which means, the place of the sun. And that was, according to archaeologists, a place where they worship the sun. So this is true. Millions of people worship the sun and the moon, and yet the sun and the moon did not go on strike about that. Were not incensed that even though there's only one God in the heaven and the earth, people were worshiping them, the sun and the moon. So this argument was so potent that when the sun and the moon heard this, according to the Midrash, they then even more so they didn't want to go into their orbit. And God had to shoot arrows at them in order to get them out of their hiding place and go back in their orbit. So what's the point of this? The point is simply that you have to be careful when you look at movements and revolutions and see what the real motives are. And in the case of Korach, even though he said, we're all holy, how come Moses and Aaron are ruling over us, one as king and one as high priest? But that really wasn't what was going on, because it's not like Moshe seized power and appointed his brother. They were both chosen by God. And Korach was also a Levite from the same tribe, but he was not chosen. And it was really jealousy that was behind it all. And even more so, there's another Midrash which shows a more insidious meaning to the revolt. There's a Midrash which says that Korach went over to Moshe and said, if you have a garment that's all blue, if you remember in the Torah it says that you're supposed to put a string of blue dye on the corner of a tzitzit. It's called tchelet. And tchelet is supposed to evoke these emotions because the blue is supposed to remind you of the ocean, the blue ocean, which reminds you of the blue in the heavens, which reminds you, of course, of the enormity of God. It's supposed to reflect the God in heaven. And so when you look at that, you're supposed to have a feeling of the enormity of God. So if the whole garment was blue, would you still need to do the mitzvah of putting a blue string on the corners? So Moshe said, of course you do, that's the mitzvah. And so Korach mocked him and said, nah, you made this up, can't be. It's not logical, which of course is a beautiful lecture. I'm going to give you if you want to look at 10 minutes of a beautiful lecture by Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik entitled The Common Sense Rebellion Against Judaism, that he saw something very dangerous in what Korach was advocating, because he was saying that Judaism shouldn't be objective. It should be subjective, based on the feelings that you're going to get from each mitzvah. The mitzvahs don't have to stay pure. They can change. They can be updated. Maybe instead of going to synagogue, you could watch a video, or you could hear beautiful music that's supposed to inspire you. What do you need to pray for? But that, of course, is a slippery slope, because then you're destroying the religion, and you can't have any precepts which are changeable, and each person has a religious experience at a different level. So how could you possibly make any precepts that's going to satisfy one person and the next person? Everything falls apart. So that was the dangerous part of the revolt, as Rav Soloveitchik saw it. And it just goes to show you that sometimes in popular uprisings and movements, people parade these ideas of equality and all kinds of beautiful things, but really you have to be vigilant and know what is behind it. Unfortunately, one could say the same thing about A lot of the anti-Semitism is going on now. It's cloaked in anti-Israel, and I'm not making judgments, but you just have to be vigilant. Is it really anti-Israel purely, or is there more to it? Are there motives more to it? So that's it. Guys, as usual, I would love to get your feedback on this. And again, the parsha is Korach, which is the revolt against Moshe and Aaron. And love to hear what you have to say. Love you all. Looking forward. Take care.